There's not many day tickets in the UK that hold a £50 carp, so when I was invited to fish Combley Lakes on the Isle of Wight, to say I was excited was an understatement. On the ferry over to the Isle of Wight, we decided that the fairest way to approach fishing was to do a draw for swims, and after a short ferry crossing, we were soon picking our numbers out of the hat. Right, draw time. So all we've done, just numbers in the hat. Decided, Ashley, you're going to pick one out of the hat first. John.
Don't pretend.
Or me last.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Why do I hate this all the time?
Ooh.
Oh, I knew it.
Oh, right.
Oh, happy days. Right.
You got one?
Who's
Yes.
first? Yeah. Right, go on, Ash.
I'm going to go here.
In there. Well, I'm going to go in that swim there.
Which leaves me with all the bottom end.
Yeah.
Basically.
You happy with that?
Oh yeah, ecstatic. The end that no one wanted. Over the moon. The swim choices were pretty simple. Ashley was located in the middle of the lake. We had choices for spots including channels in the weed and islands to go at.
I'd picked a swim with the option to fish the island. However, in addition to that, you had a rather nice secluded bay to the right hand side.
Myself, coming last in the draw, had the open water swim, which is substantially deeper, but I had the option to fish the far margin. This was going to be fun.
Right, so I'm in the swim that I wanted. Come first out the draw. Well chuffed with that. Yeah, got plenty out in front of me, seen loads of fish. Hopefully we'll get amongst a few this week. Gonna get a couple of rods out quickly, just on singles for now. And yeah, we'll go from there.
So I came second in the draw, very happy with that, and I am on the right hand side of the lake, and I've got a lovely bay to my right hand side. So I've actually put two rods out now. I've just stuck my right hand rod just to the entrance of the bay. I've just got one under an overhanging tree. Seen fish on both of those, and I'm just about to put out my left hand rod. There's quite a big weed bed in front of me, and there's a nice little channel, so I'm just going to slot one in between the two weed beds, and hopefully the fish, and I have seen a couple there, hopefully the fish will sort of drift that way if I'm lucky. Rigs wise, just going with the normal rig that I was using in the Abbey Lakes video. Really excited. There is some huge fish in here that have the potential to break my PB, so yeah, without further ado, let's get the final rod out.
Right then, that's two rods out on the spots already. I have used the SS cheat box, the old bait boat, Echo and all the bits and pieces, because the sort of swim in front of me is chock-a-block with weed. And yes, I could spend ages with a marker float and flipping mark it all up, but to be honest with you, in these small intimate pools, that is an absolute no-no. So the ability to drop the boat in, drive it around the swim, map it all out in my mind, and locate and mark those spots is crucial. So as I said, I've got two rods out already. Just going to put this third rod out. I've got a little mixture of rigs and baits going to try and see what works. So without further ado, I'm going to get this third rod out and then get on with the show. To be honest, I was astonished at how quickly I was away, receiving a take only a couple hours after putting the rods out. The fish took me from weed bed to weed bed. When they do this, it's important not to panic. By keeping steady pressure on it, it kept the drama to a minimum. My size 4 curve shanks held firm, and she was soon in the net. Well, what a start. £25.14 of hard fighting Combley Common. A proper weed battle this one. I had a few liners come down to the rod, just walking back to Ash's bivvy, and it's ripped off. As I've got to rod, the tip's bent round. It's trying to get into the lower lake by the looks of things. As soon as I picked up, turned right and went into every single weed bed. But £25.14 and a few hours in the water, absolutely buzzing. A little white Ronnie pop up. We'll do all those bits and pieces later on in the video, no doubt. But what a start here at Combley Lakes.
With John receiving his bite so quick, the three of us went into the night full of anticipation. Despite us listening to boshing carp throughout the night, it wasn't until the early hours when I received a take on my right hand rod. At £30.5, I couldn't wait to see it in the daylight. Well, what an amazing start. So John's had one, I've got one in the sling, and the sun's just coming up now. There's been some absolutely massive boshes through the night, and sort of as you're sleeping, you've got one eye open, hoping that the rods are going to go off. Yeah, and it finally has, and it looks a really nice fish as well. So yeah, let's have a look at it. Now at Combley Lakes, the rules imply that all carp must be photographed and filmed in the lake, so after a couple of practice lifts, it was time to show it off to the cameras. Unfortunately, on the second lift, the sling had actually caught on the carp, and when putting it back into the sling, disaster happened.
Great work, Al, great work. You're supposed to place the fish back in the sling, not the lake.
Right, well, it absolutely soaked through. The water's gone in my waders. Yeah, and that is a fish that's escaped. Gutted. It was a lovely 30-pounder. But yeah, that's what happens when you have water shots. It's the nature of the beast, I suppose. So yeah, hopefully we will have another one to show you in the future. But that's what happens. So after, well, not losing the fish, but not getting a photo certainly, I'll quickly run you through the rigs that we're using. Me, John and Ashley are all using sort of similar stuff. I think Ashley's on a lead clip, but me and John are both using leadless leaders. Now the rules down here at Combley are that you do have to use either some form of tubing or a leadless leader. Now the actual rig that I'm using, I'm not going to talk through this because every single video I show you some form of Ronnie rig, but it is just a Ronnie rig, but it is on a helicopter system, just 30-pound of fluoro link, a little bit of putty, and I'm using a PB 15mm for 15mm pop-up on that with a wide gape size 4. But what I am going to show you is basically how to set up a really nice, neat helicopter system using the lead-free leader. A lot of people do struggle with splicing and things like that, and yes, it is a little bit finicky, but making your own, you can get them to the perfect length that you want them. Yeah, and with all of the Trakker components, it's really easy to do. So without further ado, let's show you how to do that now. So the first thing that you're going to need, of course, is some lead-free leader material, and this is the 65-pound version, and I'm just going to strip off around about 5 foot of this in total. Just trim it, and then from there you are going to need a specific splicing needle. Now with regards to these, the splicing needles is blue in colour in the Trakker range, and these are really thin, and it just means that it glides through that lead-free leader, yeah, nice and easy basically. Now with regards to this, the first thing that I'm going to do is just make the loop bit that is going to attach to my line, and you're just going to get the splicing needle and you're just trying to basically push it into the middle of the lead-free leader, and then it will slot in the middle like so. Now when you're pushing this up, just push it up, I'd say around about just over an inch, a couple of mil over an inch, and you just push that needle out of the actual splicing. Then you're just going to wrap it round so you've got a little bit of a loop there, and then again just push onto the actual needle itself Now when you are actually hooking it on, I would just leave a little bit of material at the end, because otherwise if you just leave it tight, it can just slip straight off that hook. And just obviously put the latch over, and then you're just going to pull this down. Now, can be a little bit fiddly, can take a while, and eventually you will pull through like so, and you will end up with a little loop like so, and then you're just going to tighten this down. Then you'll have a really nice neat loop where you're just going to attach your main line. So just trim off the excess there. Let's give that another pull. You'll know when you've done it right, because the unleaded leader at this end where you've doubled it up just goes super, super stiff. There's just no way that that is moving anywhere at all. So that is basically the first half of your leadless leader done. So yeah, with that now spliced, the next thing you're going to do is obviously construct the actual helicopter rig section. So the first thing you're going to need is a tapered heli sleeve. Now these are specifically designed really for naked like chod rigs and things like that, but I actually use them for for the leadless leader as well. Now they are attached to the metal bit to put your main line through for naked chod rigs or naked helicopter rigs. Just take one off. Now if I'm going to be splicing from the bottom, the non-looped end of course, you want the actual tapered heli sleeve to be facing sort of the thicker end towards the loop basically, which means that your baited needle is going to go in the thinnest end, and you just need to make sure that this is done really straight. And from there you're just going to obviously double over the other end. Just need to make sure that this is on really firm, and then just push this down. Now you will have to put quite a lot of force on it, so obviously just be careful. Yeah, and you will see now that that's now on, so just pull that off. So after that, you're then going to need a bore bead, and that's going to attach over the actual heli sleeve that you've just put on. Now with these bore beads, just talking very quickly about safety now, if they are dry, they won't come off easily enough. So before you cast out, before you put them out and everything, just undo that. Just moisten it, and then you don't want it fully on, you know, you just want it just pushed on nice and lightly, and that just means that that bead will come off as well, and also your rig can obviously slide off if you get cut off or anything like that. So yeah, just put it on for now. Obviously I can wet that later on. You're then going to get a heli buffer sleeve and thread that on. Again, just doing it sort of upside down almost. And then the final thing you're going to need is a little quick link clip. So all you're going to do with your actual little quick link or quick chain swivel is just splice it exactly the same way that I showed you to do with the other one, but just do that a little bit tighter so it fits directly flush to the actual top of that link loop. So with that all spliced on now, it's just a case of attaching your lead. Now, if you're not using some form of drop-off system, I would definitely opt for a lighter lead. The last thing you want is them trailing around sort of a 4.5 ounce lead while you're trying to play a fish through weed. So just a little 2 ounce lead, that's all you need. Just clip that on, then push down your little buffer sleeve. Basically what that enables, if you're using a naked shoddy, it just gives it a little bit of movement there. Just take that bead off and then just slide your rig on. As I said, I'm just using my standard Ronnie rig, surprise, surprise. Just slide that on, then slide on your bead. Yeah, and that is basically your helicopter rig all set up. Now the leadless leader material, you might think that £65 is quite overboard, but those knots, well, the splicing never slips on them, and the material is super heavy as well. Yeah, and it's just done me really well recently. Now with regards to a helicopter rig, basically how a helicopter rig works is the lead basically plumbs in first, which means that you can actually set the depth of the actual, say if you're getting a really soft drop, you can lift up the actual bead a little bit higher. So if it drops, say, the lead in that much, it means that your rig is going to be sitting nice and proud. Now, it's not that soft, to be fair, where I'm fishing at the moment. So just say maybe 2.5 inches, something like that. And that is the actual setup rig. So that's the rig that I'm using during this session. Obviously I've landed one. I'm not saying it's definitely the rig to use, but this is the rig that I will be continuing to use during my session. Obviously having one gives me the confidence that I'm at least doing something right.
So we're on to the second night now. As you'll have seen, John and Alex, they've had one this morning. John had his yesterday. Nothing's happened for me, it's been quite quiet. There's been a lot of fish that we've seen over the back of the island. We're all fishing this one bank, so I think they've all held up behind the island. So my middle rod I've just pushed out a bit further where we've seen some fish in a clearer channel. So if I haven't had anything by tomorrow, I think I'm going to go around there and I'll chuck a couple of rods out around there for a few hours, just see if I can get something. If not, I'll have to think of something else.
Well, good morning. I would say good morning, but it's certainly not a pleasant one. The rain has come in seriously strong now. My rod tips are now under the water, and they obviously weren't yesterday. The carp seem to have ventured off from my area now. It is shallow here, and with that influx of heavy rain, I think it's definitely going to drop that water temperature. And that has definitely shown because they seem to have ventured into the deeper area of the lake, which John is in, and John has had one, which is fantastic news, and apparently it's quite a nice one as well. Hopefully I will get sort of 1 or 2 drifting throughout the day. Obviously going to keep my eye on my spots, and hopefully something will come. But yeah, without further ado, let's have a look at John's fish. I'm really excited to see it.
Well, there we are. As Alex said, the water levels have risen. This was sort of knee-height water earlier in the week, and it's already over my waist. But 28 pounds 12 ounces of hard fighting Combley mirror. Literally the rain was absolutely thumping down. I did shout, but the boys were locked up in bivvies, and rightly so. I was the only idiot out playing a fish in that rain. But yeah, it's a new spot, a spot that I put further towards the far margin, off the bottom of the ledge, and an absolute fizzer it was. The alarm could barely keep up with it. So even though it has been a tough session, these little rays of sunshine that break through in these beautiful Combley fish really do change your attitude and change your mind. Get the rod back out, slip this back, sorry, get the rod back out, and on with the rest of the day, and pray that that rain stays off.
John's prayers for the rain to ease unfortunately didn't come true, so we're resigned to our bivvies for the rest of the day. With the majority of the Isle of Wight flooded, to be honest, I was happy just still to be fishing.
Well, this seems to be the theme of today. I say we're coming to the end of day 2, and there's been motions, there's been movements. Ash has moved from one side of the lake to the other side of the island, and to be honest, it was a sensible angler things to do. We've seen them on the drone, we've seen them and heard them crashing around that back corner, so it would be bad angling if he hadn't. He hasn't had anything, so he's up sticks and moved over there. And what you are seeing right now is the theme of today. This is actually the least rain we've had all day, so we had to quickly get the cameras out to round off the day. But a couple of fish from me said Al unfortunately hasn't had anything more, but he's on them, he's on top of them, so fingers crossed. But yeah, this weather has been ridiculous. The lake's actually gone up over 18 inches in depth because obviously going out with the echo sounder on the boat, my spots have now gone up nearly 1.5 foot, which is going to be kill or cure, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the sort of trip. But right now, all I can think about is getting in my bivvy and getting a waterproof coat on just in case those rods do rip off. Well, there we are, fish number 3, 32 pounds and 10 ounce of scaly Combley one. In my mind's eye, I thought, if I can get myself a 30 pounder from here, I'll be over the moon. Yet again, from the same spot as I had the first fish, and even though the bites have been really hard to come by, I think sort of the way that I've been baiting, the approach, sort of, we'll go through all that after we put this fish back, but I think that's what's kept those fish coming. They are very cagey, it is intimate, and it's all about sort of winkling them out, if you like. So 32 pound 10 ounces, over the moon, a real scaly one that I'm in love with already. So we're going to sit this back, take some pictures, and then we will show you through sort of the bait and the tactics I've been employing to take on these Combley carp. Right, well that's that 30 slip back, and just want to go with sort of the tactics, and there's nothing that I am doing that these other two lads aren't doing, so it's nothing special, and I'm not going to wax lyrical like I am doing anything special. But when we got here, Will said that there hadn't been anything out for sort of 7 to 10 days. So in my mind, the fish weren't feeding. So what I wanted to do is go in with traps, set little traps, and if I could sort of judge whether or not, you know, if I had 6 fish in the first day, then obviously I was going to make a change. But my thought process was find some clear areas, get a little bit of bait, a little bit of trap, something visual, so even if they weren't after sort of picking up the freebies, there's something they can pick up. By using that sort of stealth approach, finding the areas I wanted to present on really quickly and able to drop quietly, I think has been the edge. These fish certainly aren't feeding, and although 3 fish in 3 nights might seem a lot, that's certainly not indicative of what you'd expect from this venue. So regards rigs, because of the sheer amount of weed in and around the areas I'm fishing, I've gone back to a Ronnie rig, and the fact that I can make that change and use terminal tackle I'm confident in on any rig is a massive edge for me. But yeah, essentially found 3 spots. Every time I'm going out with a bait boat, I'm only baiting once a day, putting out that rig once a day, sort of lunchtime, and leaving it sit because I don't want to disturb that swim. It's not fished well. The boys are working their guts up there for no avail. I said obviously coming out 3rd in the draw, I came to where no one else wanted to be, but I think the area has also been a big help. It's deeper than everywhere else. We've had that big influx of cold water, and I think it has just held them in the deep water. But 1 night left to go. Fingers are crossed for the other lads to obviously catch a few, and selfishly for me to catch another 1 or 2. It is about that time now. We're going to get the rods back out and see what the night brings. After putting the rods out for the evening, in a couple of hours, the right-hand rod in the deeper water busted off. Unfortunately, as I was fully aware, this spot was completely surrounded by weed, and the fish had taken its opportunity to dive straight in the weed from the take. Despite changing the angle numerous times and even leaving the rod on the rest for 20 minutes, this fish was not coming out. And there's only one thing left to do, and that was phone the owner, Will, to come down and bring his QE2 sized lake boat. And there we are, fish number 4, the boat battle. Well, I say boat, it's more like a ship, as it came around the corner like the flipping QE2. But yeah, it just goes to prove a point, as instead of pulling their heads off, you know, sometimes it's better to admit, not defeat, but that you might need some help. And the fact that we got that boat in, as soon as we got over the top, out she popped. A little bit of a duffer with a net in, but the second time she went in. 28 pound, yet again, those little fizzy wicked whites over pea fish, boilie and pellet. Absolutely deadly. I said, by no means 4 fish light in the world of light, but I will take every single one of them. So I'm going to take some pics, slip her back before what over the back of the camera is a massive rain cloud dumps itself upon us. Buzzing. Not sure about sheeping you up. Smash you up, though, Jay.
You've got them hungry about me as well.
Yeah. Your cooking's been good though, to be fair, so that's your biggest contribution. Yeah. And I lost a fish.
And I nearly lost a fish. But you know, it's been a trip of trial and tribulation, really. So we knew full well when we arrived, speaking to Will, it was going to be tough. And it has been tough. Okay, we caught a couple of fish, but it's certainly not as prolific as we would have liked it to have been.
All right for you, sir.
I feel bad now, see?
Oh, diddums. Well, no, it's been a really good trip, hasn't it? I think the fish are really, really cagey, aren't they? Yeah. That's definitely something that we have learned. And there's been previous videos done on this lake, and I think, to be fair, we started off on this bank and straight away we realised it was the wrong thing, and I think we should have spread out a little bit more. But I think as soon as you left as well, as soon as you've left that peg, they've started boshing there, haven't they? Last night.
Way,
yeah, so they're just basically going where there's no lines, aren't they? I think you're picking them up obviously on on all 3 rods, to be fair, so well fished, mate. Yeah, and I've had fish showing over me and just been unfortunate not to catch anything. Yeah.
But it has been a great trip. There is no denying it.
Really
first time I met the boys, first time I fished the boys, it's been great. We had a great laugh, and that is what fishing should be. It's a social at the end of the day. It was planned as a social with some filming, and I've had a lovely time, boys.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. And hopefully, if the dream ends, you smash your PB, I smash my PB, and you have a 50.
It would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Despite my want for a dream ending, in reality, fishing sessions rarely pan out that way. The rising water levels and the influx of cold water totally switched them off that evening. As John said, fishing should not just be about the catching, but also the social side of it as well. Making new friends, not taking the fishing too seriously, and just having a really good laugh. And we certainly fulfilled that brief this trip.